Have you ever been there? You're trying to recover a password from a RAR archive. You've got this absolute beast of a computer, a killer graphics card, and the program just freezes. The progress bar stops, nothing moves. It's got to be one of the most frustrating things. Well, today, let's crack this code and figure out what is really going on. Right? This is the big question. You literally bought that powerful hardware to make things like this go faster. But for some reason, in this specific case, it feels like it's working against you. So what gives? So here's the thing. When it looks like this, when the program is just frozen, your computer isn't actually crashed. Oh no, behind the scenes, it's working like crazy. This isn't a crash, it's a traffic jam. A really specific kind of digital bottleneck. And to understand it, we've got to look at how these RAR files are actually put together. To find the real reason for that freeze, the first place to look isn't your computer, it's the RAR file itself. Because, and this is key, when it comes to cracking passwords, not all archives are made the same. Far from it. Every single one is unique. The secret to how hard or how fast it is to crack a RAR password really comes down to a mix of these four things. You've got the version, RAR 3 or RAR 5, whether the file headers themselves are encrypted, the total size of the archive, of course, and the most important one for our little problem, the compression method used to create it. Yeah, out of all the different ways a RAR can be compressed, there's one that's a real troublemaker. It's called store. And that name's a little misleading, because it actually means there is zero compression. The files are just stored inside the archive. This one simple choice is pretty much the root of our entire freezing problem. Let's dig in. Okay, so real quick, here's how this is supposed to work. The software grabs a password guess, turns it into a decryption key, and then tries that key on a tiny little piece of the archive. If that piece decrypts, bingo, we found the password. This whole process has to happen at lightning speed, millions of times over. And right here, this is where everything grinds to a halt. If an archive was made using that store method and it doesn't have encrypted headers, there is no small piece to check. The software has to unpack the entire file for every single password guess. Think about that. If your archive is a few gigabytes, the program has to process gigabytes of data just to find out that, nope, that one guess was wrong. So now we know the what. It's a specific type of RAR archive causing the issue. Now let's get to the how. How does your super fast hardware actually make this specific situation so much worse and lead to that freeze? See, in password recovery, your computer kind of splits the work. Your GPU, that's the number crunching monster, its only job is to turn password guesses into decryption keys, and it does it ridiculously fast. Your CPU's job is to take those keys and actually test them by unpacking. And as you can see, when we're dealing with these stored files, there's a massive difference in speed. And this is the absolute heart of the problem. Your GPU is like a fire hose, just blasting thousands upon thousands of keys at your CPU every second. But your poor CPU, which is stuck unpacking a huge stored file over and over and over again, it's like it's trying to drink from that fire hose with a tiny little straw. It just can't keep up. So this is what that bottleneck looks like in real life. Your CPU is completely maxed out, running at 100%, desperately trying to get through the massive chunk of keys the GPU just dumped on it. And your super powerful GPU, it's literally doing nothing, just sitting there, idle, waiting. To you, the whole thing looks frozen. And the worst part? If you give up and close the program, you lose all the work it did on that entire block of keys. Okay, so we figured out the problem. An incredibly fast GPU is totally overwhelming a bogged-down CPU when they work on one very specific type of file. So how do we fix this? Well, the answer is probably the last thing you'd think of. How do you possibly solve this high-tech mess, where one part of your system is just too fast for the job? Well, the answer is definitely not what you'd expect. That's it. You just turn off the fastest part of your computer. I know, it sounds completely backward, but trust me, for this one specific scenario, it is absolutely the right move. So why does this work? Well, by disabling the GPU, you force the CPU to do both jobs. It has to generate the key and then test it. Now, the overall speed might not look as impressive on paper, but what it creates is a balanced, steady 1-2 rhythm. The CPU makes a key, test it, makes another key, test it. The fire hose is gone, the bottleneck is gone, and the freeze is gone. And you know what? there's a fantastic little bonus here. Because the CPU is just chugging along, processing passwords one by one, the program can save your progress constantly and reliably. So if you need to pause or stop the search for any reason, you're not going to lose hours of work. It's a huge relief. All right, now that we understand the problem and the fix, it's worth just taking a quick look at the tools we use for this stuff. Because having the right software is just as important as knowing all these little tricks. Now, the source material for this explainer comes from the folks at Passcovery, and they offer a couple of tools for this kind of work. There's Accent RAR Password Recovery, which, just like the name says, is laser-focused on just RAR files. And then there's Passcovery Suite, which is their bigger, all-in-one solution that handles a whole bunch of different formats, way beyond just RARs. But really, no matter what program you're using, any good RAR recovery tool needs to have these key features. It's got to support all the RAR versions out there. It should give you a bunch of different ways to search for the password and let you tweak the settings to save time. And of course, it needs to have that powerful GPU acceleration for all the times when it actually helps. And that really brings us to the big takeaway here. This whole situation is just a perfect reminder that in computing, more power isn't always the answer. Brute force isn't everything. Sometimes the smartest solution is knowing when to dial the power down, not crank it up. It's all about using the right tool and the right technique for the exact job you're trying to do.